We're grateful you're here. We are grateful you're here. This event, this day, would not be the same if you weren't here. Every one of us who participates brings just something by our very presence and by the ways that we participate. As Carol Burnett used to say, I'm so glad we had this time together. I am. I don't remember which year it was, so if I did the wrong one, but I know it's one of them for her grandmother, right? Yeah. Anyway, but I really am. I'm glad we're having this time together. It is a beautiful and a sacred thing. Throughout this plenary, you'll have a chance to hear from some of our regional and CCC staff. If they're going to speak, I'm going to introduce them when they come up. But there are a few that you've seen already, and a few who don't have speaking roles today, which pleases them just fine, but I want to share our appreciation with them. You've heard and been led by, at the communion table, our partner regional minister, and for 3 months, our sabbatical regional minister, Liz Woodward, and we're grateful for her service. Our hospitality director, who is hard at work making sure that lunch will go well. That's why we're doing these right now, so she can get back to the kitchen. Crystal Nelson, we're grateful for all that Crystal does. Did we run Greg out? We had a facilities need, so Greg Champion is around. You'll see Greg around. Give him a hard time and also share your appreciation with Greg when you run into him around the grounds today. We're grateful for Greg Champion, our facilities director. And Cindy Madison, who is helping us out with housekeeping again, and we are so grateful for Cindy. Yay. And while you're over at lunch, you'll see Katina Evans probably in and out of the kitchen. If you see her, give her a quick thanks, but she won't stay long because she will make sure that everything is handled well. So we give thanks for all of them. Thank you for pulling away from the kitchen. Go back. That's fine. I didn't know how fast we'd all get back from break, and I didn't want to take away from our guests who are going to speak, and so I said I'd be honored to offer a short meditation myself, because if a few of you miss me, well, you'll get other chances to hear me, right? But this is not just filler. As I travel around our region, as I meet with clergy, as I meet with congregations, I'm about to say something that I don't think any of you don't hear on a regular basis, maybe don't even feel on a regular basis. I hear anxiety. I hear concerns. I hear the church is smaller than it used to be. Money is harder to make it all work than it used to be. Where is everybody? And underneath some of that, sometimes I hear an unspoken question, which is, what are we doing wrong? I don't know that we all have that. I don't know that I'm always reading that question in properly, but I'm confident that sometimes that's a question some of us have. What are we doing wrong? The short of it is I'm not sure that we are doing much wrong. I think it is a hard time to be people of faith for a variety of reasons. I'm not going to go into all of them. But one of the main ones right now is we are so fractured, and we're getting into our silos and our tribes, and our group can do no wrong and the other group can do no right. And somehow it's always just two groups, which is fascinating to me because people are much more interesting and complicated than that. But no matter how we divide it, there are two groups of people. I always, when I talk about this, like to quote the movie What About Bob, which that dates me a little from the early 90s, but if you know that, Bob Wiley says to his therapist at one point, there are two kinds of people in the world, those that like Neil Diamond and those who do not. My ex-wife loved him. That's the next line. There are more than two types of people in the world. And as church, that's some of what we embody. As disciples of Christ with an open table, that is part of what we embody, isn't it? But I think we've struggled with this, not just our culture, but the church has struggled with this. Our focus text is from 1 Corinthians. Do you remember what comes before that? I'm going to remind you. That church in Corinth was fractured and divided. And the first part of the letter, after Paul, as he often does, gives his greetings and his gratitude for their existence, says, I've heard from Chloe's people that some of you say, we follow Paul, and some of you say, we follow Apollos, and some of you say, we follow Cephas, and some of you, these are the people dearest to me, some of you say, we're just trying to be Christians. Sound familiar? The church in Corinth was not that big. 4 factions. 4 that Paul heard about from a distance. And then he gives his teaching, which starts with what we talked about this morning, about listening for God. And his basic point is this: I know you're all trying to find the right way. You're all trying to do the smart thing. Imagine, I'm going to paraphrase here, imagine the dumbest thing you can ever come up with that God would think or do. It is smarter than anything you'll ever come up with. And for Paul, that is a bit of I think, an intellectual exercise, but it comes from a very real example about God's power that Paul, I think, if you read Paul's letters, feels deeply, which is about God's power. Think of God, the least powerful moment you can about God. You don't have to imagine what that is. Paul will give it to you. What is it? It is the cross. It is Jesus dying on the cross. In human terms, that seems the lowest point of God's power. And yet Paul recognizes that the miracle of the cross is God is still so powerful at that is beyond any human power we can fathom. So the argument about listening for God and God's wisdom relates entirely to that very personal testimony that Paul gives again and again about the nature of the cross and what the cross means for Christians. So as we're listening for that wisdom, as we're listening for God, we have to, dare I say, get over ourselves and get over the culture around us that keeps demanding that we find the right answers. And trust that no matter what we privately come up with, whether we're introverts like Dennis reminded us in our little dark corners, I resemble that remark sometimes, or extroverts that crowdsource everything we think. That's not very fair to the extroverts, I'm sorry. Spoken like an introvert, right? For those extroverts that process externally. God has answers. God has entrusted us with some of them. God entrusts us to act on those answers. This is not a call to sitting on our hands, but it is a call, as Paul told that church 2,000 years ago, that wisdom echoes over the centuries. If you want to do better, if you want to be more like God made you to be, listen and trust that even if you happen to get the stupidest thing God ever comes up with, and again, Paul doesn't think God's stupid, right? It's going to be smarter than anything you or the smartest person you know comes up with. And I think there's both comfort in that, but I think there's an invitation in that, in these troubled times for us, yes, to listen, to learn, and dare I say then to do. Enough. I can preach, but I'm not going to go any further than that today. Instead, I'm going to invite our transitional executive regional minister, Lisa Grace, who does wonderful administrative work and occasional pastoral work for us. We're grateful, and she's going to welcome some of our guests.
Do we have an update on that? Okay, perfect. Good morning. As Josh said, we are always ecstatic to welcome and connect with so many of our ministry partners in the general church and the higher education every year at our regional gatherings. So our first ministry partner this morning is Reverend Matt Razine. Thank you for making it. He is the president of the Christian Church Foundation, and his flight was delayed, so we're glad you're here. But more importantly, he is a Timothy of the First Christian Church in Burlington, Iowa.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's great to be with you all. It's great to be back at this place where I was raised. It's great to see so many friends. Hi, Tom and Linda. Oh, my goodness. Good to see you all. Doug. Wow. And my friends from Burlington are here. As Lisa said, I'm the president of the Christian Church Foundation, which just very briefly, among other things, is your church's planned giving ministry, planned giving partner. I have a dumb question to ask. How many of you love your congregation? Almost every hand is up. That's good. How many of you love this Christian Conference Center? How many of you love this Upper Midwest region and the things you do as disciples together? Okay. Then I have another question for you. Do you have plans to leave a gift to those ministries you love at the end of your life? That is what our office does. That is what we can help you with. We think about those things as being so complicated to set up. They are not. They can be very, very simple. And we have a person in our office whose name is Kirby Gould, who is your foundation representative. And Kirby apologizes she can't be here today, so they had to send me instead. But she is the person who's willing to meet with you one-on-one or to come to your church and do a seminar and talk about these things. She is available. She's in this region a lot. She would be happy to visit with you. I didn't say it, but for those of you who nodded your heads and said, yes, the church, the ministries of the church are in my end-of-life plans, thank you so much. Thank you for doing that. You are making sure, here's why it's important. You're making sure that this camp, your congregation, this region is here for the next generation and the generation after them and the generation after them. I just want to acknowledge a couple of other folks from this region that are, one of them is here. David Yonker is here, the pastor in Burlington. David is the chair of our board and has been for the last 2 years. He's been a great ambassador of the Upper Midwest region, serving on our board. And Betty Ridout, I'm not sure if Betty is here, but she's from Wakanda. Any folks from Wakanda in the house? Betty is well, Josh is. Betty is the newest member of our Christian Church Foundation board. So we look forward to meeting her and getting her involved in what we do at the foundation. But thank you, David. Thank you, Betty. Thank you all for sharing in this ministry of our church and the gifts that we leave. Thanks.
Thank you. Our next ministry partner comes to us from the Disciples Church Extension Fund. As some of you remember, Katie McFall was with us last year. She gave a workshop. She loved us so much, she's back. No workshop this time, though. We're not going to spring that on you. But more importantly, she is also a member of First Christian Church in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and will be a member of our regional board. Katie?
Thank you. Okay, so I'm with Disciples Church Extension Fund. Many of you may know us by the moniker Church Extension. We go by that too. Our mission is to inspire and empower congregations to create holy places that connect people with God, with each other, and with their community. And we do that largely through three focus areas. And one is congregational vitality. Our advisors are engaged with congregations to provide financial services, loans, capital fundraising campaigns to strengthen their ministry and help them thrive. New church ministry is also a part of our ministry. And new church ministry, after the 2020 vision has been completed, right, we have more work to do. And new church ministry trains and equips emerging church leaders. And these days through a new methodology, Disciples Next, and that really focuses on contemplative action, prophetic advocacy, and faith-rooted organizing. And it's very empowering. We also have our building disaster response service. And I don't know if Jim Michael is in this room or if he is out there. Jim, my colleague, who is the coordinator of this program, works with congregations in the aftermath of natural disasters at no cost to help them move forward in ministry. He works with them to go through insurance claims. He talks with adjusters. I am going to brag about him a little bit and tell a story, a brief story. And this story is a couple of years old, actually, but he worked with a congregation in Foley, Alabama, South Baldwin Christian Church. They had had hurricane damage to their roof, and the insurance company gave them a check for $2,000, Jim? $2,000. They could not move forward in ministry with that. He worked for months and months, talked with the adjusters. You can ask him what all he did, but in the end, the insurance company gave them 2 checks totaling about $80,000, and they can move forward in ministry. If your congregation is in need of financial services that we offer, if you have emerging church leaders that you think need to attend Leadership Academy or be coached by our new church ministry team, if you experience a natural disaster, call Church Extension by any name, and we are here to help. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Our next ministry partners, Reverend Tara Thompson and Leslie Lesueur, are some of our most faithful attendees, to the point that we sometimes ask, is it really a regional event if Phillips Theological Seminary is not here? So Tara is the director of the alum community, and Leslie is the senior director of the Center for Ministry and Lay Training. But more importantly, they have some of the best swag and are the #1 supplier of my gratitude journals. So thank you.
Well, we didn't bring journals today, so we have to come back in March. And that is one thing I wanted to share. I have a few things to share with you, but I'm so glad to be in Iowa, and it's not January and negative degrees. So I know, it's a wonderful celebration. It's beautiful then, but it's really beautiful now. And I got to drive in this morning, and I had never even noticed the putt-putt golf pieces, because who's looking for that in January? But I was excited. I was like, they have putt-putt golf at their conference center. That's amazing. But I am Leslie Lesueur, the director of the Center for Ministry and Lay Training. And many of you are familiar faces because you're in the midst of our programming. But I do want to highlight just 2 other things. In our January Ministers Institute piece, highlighted that we were going to begin offering, in addition to our 8-week online courses in this brochure, we are offering more accessible and a little bit of a smaller bite for theological education. That was that's what's on this flyer, and it is topics like stewardship in your congregation and financial literacy, topics like Christian women who changed Christian women who changed history, and then Disciples' History and Polity. And those courses are becoming available. The first 2 that are out are the Stewardship and the Christian Women who Changed History. Those are available in small group or individual study methods where they're more like a lecture and then accompanying questions and reflection possibilities. You could do that as a small group or on your own, and they're downloadable, and you can do them at any time you want to. You don't have to be tied to a calendar for that. And if you pick up this flyer at our table, you'll get a $20 credit toward any of our CMLT gifts, and that's just for your presence here. And now, another announcement that we want to share. Some of you have seen it probably, but Phillips was awarded a $1 million Lilly grant. I know. Thank you, Lily. We will begin the work of the Town and Country Leadership Project which is for our small and rural churches to begin an innovative and leadership education program. We'll begin to have more resources available for those in that specific ministry setting. And we are just glad to be able to share that with all of our congregations. And so thank you for having us. I'll now turn it over to Tara.
I will echo what she said. It is nice to be here, not in January. I was trying to remember where we went to dinner, this wonderful restaurant last time we were here, and she's like, well, what did it look like? I said, I don't know. I was freezing. I was just trying to get inside. But we found it last night, which was fun. Well, it has been an exciting start to the semester. We have 57 new students enrolled this fall for the fall semester, yes. With a total of 163 students enrolled at Phillips, which is amazing. This past week, we had students there for Doctor of Ministry classes and also MDiv classes. And as we went to chapel and went down to lunch, there were over 50 students there. And I just took it in because I was a student there in the early 2000s, and it felt like it did back then. So it's so wonderful to have so many students on campus. As we have been coming and sharing the past few years here in Iowa, you may have heard us talk about the Bedford House. And we're really excited about the Bedford House. It offers 20-plus hotel-style rooms for our students whenever they are on campus. My office is moving over there too, so that's exciting. But it also offers retreat space. If you want to bring your boards, your churches, clergy retreats down to Tulsa, please do so. Please call the seminary, book the Bedford House. I know the College of Regional Ministers will be meeting there soon, and also Restored Clergy is having their board meeting there soon. So lots of possibilities for you, and we are very excited that that is opening. Our grand opening will be on Tuesday, January 13th. We have another continuing education opportunity. This is brand new. It is a ministry enrichment program, and this allows you to earn continuing education credits and deepen your practice of ministry alongside peers who are also committed to faithful service in a complex world. And you will receive CEUs upon the completion. And these will be in connection with our 4 public events, which is Remind and Renew in January, the Tulsa Race Massacre Lectureship, which is in April, Pride at Phillips, which we just had this past week, which is in October, and the Indigenous North American Heritage event, which is in November. And these CEU opportunities will be offered virtually, so you don't have to come to campus. You can join where you are. Please come see us if you would like more information about that. And you may have also heard us say, if you are a disciple of Christ, and you are interested in an MDiv or a Doctor of Ministry program, please come and talk to us, because right now we are offering 100% tuition, which is unheard of for DMin programs. Last year, our Board of Trustees, they decided they don't want anyone to have financial hardship just to go to seminary. So they are offering this opportunity. It is fantastic. I have even thought about going to get my DMin because of this. So please, if you're interested, come and talk to us. And if we can share any more about the mission of Phillips, about being a student, our alum programs, which we are getting up and running, and how you can join us in leadership, global impact, and deep learning, please come and visit with us. Thank you so much for having us. Yeah.
And take our swag. We have swag. Come get it.
Let's give all of our ministry partners another warm welcome.
Thank you, Lisa. So as I travel around, particularly when I meet with search teams, I get some questions, and I started sharing some data, and I kept getting the same kind of big eyes and appreciation. And so I asked our planning team if I could have a few minutes to share a few numbers with us that I think kind of helps us understand our context, both our context as disciples of Christ. I'm going to give you some disciples-specific numbers and some general religious participation trends in the United States done through surveys over the last now 25 years, dating back to 2000. So if we'll go to the next slide. Lisa's getting back there. So the first set of numbers are from Alex. That's the denominational database. If you ever do yearbook reports for your congregation, now you know they've gone online. They feed into this system. And what's nice, I know it's a headache sometimes to deal with the system. I will own that. I have no responsibility for it. I just get to hear about the headaches that it is and try to pass them along to people that I think may be able to help us with that. But here's the advantage of it. Now that we're not just getting papers that get typed into a big template to print, we can actually use the numbers and ask for questions and get some numbers back as answers. And that's some of what I'm going to share with you this morning. So the next slide. Where do you think the most Disciples of Christ congregations are? We are in the United States and Canada, so that does limit you, but kind of within the United States. Southeast, I hear. Texas. Well, here's a per capita map. Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm sorry. We're going to do the map next. This is where they're located by cities, towns, in the middle of the countryside. If you cannot read what that says at the top, the longest line, town. 36% of our congregations are located in towns. 24% are rural. 21% suburban, 19% urban, which means that 60% of our disciples-related congregations are not in cities or suburbs. Sorry, now the one I thought I was going to ask you. Where do you think most of them are? This is a per capita map. So the darker the red, the higher number of congregations per capita. And so you'll see Iowa, for example, a part of our region, is higher per capita than some other places. Yeah. 89% of disciples' congregations are located in the Eastern or Central time zones. There's some denominational history in that. There's also some American religious history in that. That's part of that. How many people are in worship in disciples' congregations? What do you think the average worship is, or the median worship? Remember what an average means. We take all the people who show up on a Sunday and divide it by the number of congregations that they can worship in. That's average. Median means the number where 50% of congregations have more than that show up and worship, on-site and online. 50% lower than that number. We'll start with average. What do you think the average worship participation in a disciples' congregation each week is? Holler it out. 42? 65? Anybody think higher than that? Okay, median. Half the congregations are bigger, half are smaller. I'll give you a hint. It's lower than average. What do you think? 55? 30? Let's pop up these are numbers. Average worship attendance, 64% of our congregations, their average weekly worship attendance is 1 to 50. 31%, 51 to 150. And then we have some large congregations that skew the numbers, because if you go to the next, I'm going to show you what those averages are. The average number is 62. Actually, it's 61.6 somethings. So we're rounding that up to 62. The median worship participation is 40. That counts on-site and online participation in a week. You can see why the average gets skewed, because 10% of our congregations have a worship attendance of more than 111. So they pull that average up to 62. But the median congregation participates and interacts with 40. That's a lot smaller than it used to be. But when I share that number, frequently congregations look at me and say, well, we're bigger than we thought we were, or at least compared to others, we're bigger than that. I want to give you some national numbers. Oh, sorry, I forgot. Dean Phelps, who is the keeper of data for us, gave me our upper Midwest numbers. So nobody has seen these but Dean and me until you today. Our upper Midwest average worship attendance is 57. Our median is 42 for the 108 congregations. Actually, not that many. These are numbers that were reported to Alex. So I believe 73 congregations reported to Alex last year. So that's from 73 of our reporting congregations. National numbers. These come from Faith Communities Together, if you'll go forward, which has been tracking religious participation since 2000 across 80 Christian denominations and 3 non-Christian faith traditions, Muslim, Judaism, so Islam, Judaism, and Hinduism are the 3 non-Christian groups. We're going to look at the median numbers. This is median worship attendance across U.S. congregations, and that is across the faiths as well. So in 2000, the median was 137. In 2020, 65. And if you see the shape of this decline, you can kind of put up any subset you want. I won't lie, I didn't go hunting for them again, but I've seen them before. You can go on their website and pour through their images and you can find them. But basically the same rate of declining participation in mainline Christian institutions like us. Evangelical or non-denominational, Hinduism, Judaism, Roman Catholicism. The same decline, the same rate of decline. The starting number and the ending number may be different, but it's the same rate of decline over these 20 years. That's our cultural context. That's why I say I don't think any of us are doing anything necessarily wrong. I mean, are there instances where we should have done things better or should have not done what we did? Yeah. But that's not why there are fewer people in most of our congregations on the weekend. There's something much bigger than us at work that we're like salmon. We are very much swimming up the cultural stream. Those are sobering numbers, but that's not the only data that we can use. And so one of the things that our region did was we offered a grant to provide mission insight data to any congregation that wanted it, and Doug Pfeiffer facilitated that, and you worked with 12 congregations, if memory serves? About 10. It was double digits, 10 congregations. But I'm going to let him share some of the things that we learned that people are looking for in their communities of faith.
Thank you. I want to talk just a few moments about numbers and then and data, and then move to some good news, things we can do, things that the data indicates that would be helpful for congregations. Mission Insight is something that I was privileged to know about and work with as I served general manifestation of the church in transformation work about 15 years ago. And then when I was a contract assessor for Hope Partnership after that, became familiar with that, worked with it. The demographics material, the data stuff is just superb. And it tells just a treasure trove, gives you a treasure trove of information. One of the key helps that Mission Insight gives is to tell congregations within their communities whether their communities are growing or not, which is an important thing for congregational leaders to realize and work with. As I worked with the data for each of these 10 congregations, there were some commonalities in terms of people surveyed in the communities around these churches and what they were interested in. So here's the helps, and if you want to have your phone or a digital device or piece of paper and pen, feel free to write these down. These were commonalities that folks in communities are looking for in a community of faith. Warm, welcoming congregation. Good sermons that relate Bible to everyday concerns. Holiday programs, especially for children. Opportunities groups that deal with personal relationships. Opportunities or groups for service in the local community. Opportunities or groups on health issues like mental health, physical health, losing weight, diet, psychological help, depression, alcoholism, dealing with stress. opportunities, groups on a wide array of other topics like bullying, conflict resolution, civility, and bridging political divides. Who would be interested in that? Can I hear an amen on that? Financial concerns and budgeting. So I want to close with an example of what a congregation, much on that smaller end that Josh pointed out, can do in terms of serving its local community. And I learned this in a conference in Minnesota, I believe, 15, 16, 17 years ago. Not a disciples-related conference, but a more ecumenical conference. Little tiny congregation in a little tiny town, Hawk Point, Minnesota. Was kind of at a crossroads of two major highways. There wasn't much left in Hawk Point except for a general store, which serves, as many of us know in rural communities, as a grocery store, meeting place, coffee place, whatever. And this particular congregation was really struggling. It had those small numbers that Josh alluded to. The average age was 70-something, and they were really struggling. They did not want their congregation's life to end. They didn't want it to be over. They were really invested to reach out to the community. And they were open, and here's the key in this whole story, they were open to doing something new, brand new. And so what they did was they just started to hang out or loiter or listen. Remember the listening theme we heard earlier? Listen at this general store. And they did that not just for one afternoon, but day after day after day, week after week after week, for several months. And they heard some common themes, and one of the common themes that struck their fancy was an after-school program. And so they just began to offer, they pulled it together, they organized an after-school program, staff it, and they began to put up flyers and hang out at the general store, but to actually tell people about their after-school program, to interact with people other than themselves. Talk about the silos and all that earlier. They reached out to people other than themselves, and lo and behold, guess what happened? Folks took children to that after-school program, and they began showing up at church, and people's lives were touched by what they did, all because they listened, and they listened to a set of data that was critical for their community. So God bless your churches. God bless where you are serving. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I echo what Josh just said. And I would be remiss myself if I did not add very briefly, if you could with me give a round of applause to an excellent regional minister in Josh.
The check's in the mail where it'll get lost. I forgot a couple of things. Uncle Eli, Lilly Foundation, has given Hartford and Faith Communities Together some money to explore the impact of COVID on religious communities. And so they've done some extensive research over 5 years, concluding this year through that grant. And the worship mode, what is your primary mode of worshiping in your worship community? And you'll see that exclusively in person or on site is the largest number, not surprisingly, over there at 40%. But that means that 60% are not exclusively in person. And I hear from some of our leaders, they get tired of me talking about online worship and online connections. But the numbers say that at least 60% of our folks, at least sometimes, not usually exclusively, that's a small group, but not zero, by the way. And we've got some congregations that can tell you about members that interact primarily online. But here's, and who are they online with? Are they by themselves? Well, yeah, most of them are, 46%. But then look, that means 54%, rounded, are with a child, with another adult, with multiple children, adults. Which is why our United Methodist friends say that you should count, if it's a legitimate view or participating in your service, should count it. It was 1.7. Their numbers suggest that every view, that because of the percentages here, 1.7, if you multiply that, will give you a more authentic participation number. I can't vouch for or not vouch for our United Methodist friends and their numbers, but this is some fascinating stuff that's come out in the last 6 months. This is stuff that has come out from the late 24, stuff that I just want to share with you. I won't lie, I haven't processed it, but I share it because it hints that the church is changing in ways that I think most of us that have been around in the church for a while don't expect. What is your church home, or do you have a church home, or is your congregation your church home? 90%, yes. 4%, I don't have a church home. Then there's a little 6 point sum, almost 7%. Yes, but I have other home congregations. 7% of respondents, and this is not a small survey, have more than one congregation they consider their home congregation. And if you go to the next slide, it's not just that small of a group. How many people regularly participate in the life of more than one congregation? 54% say, I don't. I participate in one. But that means 46%, give or take, do. And I know you may not be able to read it is. Yes, physically, yes, virtually, or by television broadcast, yes, physically and virtually. That's the 3 bars there. But that's fascinating, right? And honestly, I don't know what to do with that. But I know that in our congregations, we need to be aware of that. That there may be people who want to connect with us, who want to be a part of us, but they don't want to be exclusively a part of us. And so figuring out what ministry looks like in that context is going to be a huge learning, I think, for us in the coming decade, would be my guess. Anyway, wanted to share that. This is some of the stuff that numbers can help us think about, sometimes even open our eyes to new possibilities. That said, in the last few minutes, I want us to celebrate some of our regional ministries. You may or may not know that our region does provide grants to people who apply for them. We have certain categories. That's on our website. You can learn more about what types of projects we can support, but we receive reports on some of them. You heard Doug's live report from the Mission Insight Grant. Here are some other reports we received this summer. Our Spanish-speaking outreach, a grant to First Christian Church of Keokuk for live translation services in worship and other online. So that was in person or on site, and also online things. That led to a congregation that has several Spanish-speaking or primarily Spanish-speaking families participating in the life of the congregation, and you can see some of the ways that is happening. Next grant recipient, Downtown Disciples for Peace Luncheon and Learning that they co-hosted with Christians for Palestine. Mother's Day of 2024 features speaker, I don't know how to, is that Rima? Capitan, a Palestinian-American mother and civil rights attorney, talking about the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, which we have unfortunately heard far too much about and has gone on, well, no editorial comment there, but that's something I think we have increased familiarity with. But we were happy to support that. Hearing loop technology installed at United Church of Christ in Atlantic, so improved listening experience for those in their worship service. And another one, new microphones, upgraded microphones at First Christian Church of Oskaloosa to improve sound quality both on site in the room and online. I can't vouch for the online, but I have worshiped with them since then on site, and yes, they are greatly improved in their sanctuary. And frankly, they weren't that bad before, but I gathered when they were bad on times I wasn't there, they were really bad and really problematic. So we're grateful, and that's not all of the grants we've given out in the past couple of years, but those are the reports we have to celebrate. Before we go on to celebrating our ministries, it occurred to me late last night that there was a group that did not submit a report, because why would they? And that is our regional board. They are a very active and important part of our ministry, but they're not required in our bylaws to provide an annual report because they work throughout the year and create their own documents proving that. So, but if you're a member, have been a member of the regional board, would you wave or stand so we can appreciate you? We are grateful for the ways that you have served this year. Each of our officers is part of the executive team. I and they are part of the executive team. We meet more often than the board does now. They've done excellent work. I know Mark had to get back for a wedding this afternoon, so he's already on the road. But Mary Jane Button-Harrison and Doug Pfeiffer and Tim Butler is, where's Tim? Hi, Tim. There you are. Grateful for their service, but also they each chair one of our standing committees. And so one of those standing committees plans the regional gathering, and that is chaired by Mary Jane Button-Harrison. We're grateful for her leadership. And if you're a board member who's helped plan today, would you wave? Thank you, thank you, thank you. We're grateful for you all. Now, some other things. We asked for annual reports from our recognized ministries, and we received most of them and by August. And so I've just pulled out a few things to celebrate. So from our Ministers Institute planning team, there's a small group of ministers that prepares an annual event. You heard about it from our friends from Phillips. They come every year. It's been in January. This next year it's going to be in March. So hopefully not nearly as cold. But our January event, the Joy of Ministry, featured Reverend Dr. Claudio Carvalles and workshops. We had 101 participate online and 101 on site here in this space, 18 online. The planned March event is on clergy, loneliness, and belonging. If you're part of that Ministers Institute planning team, would you raise so we can thank you for your leadership? We're grateful for you. The Regional Committee on Ministry, and I'd like to invite my left arm, that's right, is what the joke is among the staff, our Associate Regional Minister for Vocations and Camp Programming, the Reverend Andrea Brownlee, to share about that.
Thanks. Yeah, the Regional Committee on Ministry meets 4 times a year. They do great work with our candidates that are under care. We have 20 candidates under care, and we're actually split mostly evenly between ordaining and commissioning students and candidates. This year, with the work of the exec unit, they developed a new boundaries training requirement, which shifted from the old way. Anyway, I'm not going to go into that. It was a much more acceptable, exciting, in a strange way, event for the region. So that was great. It looked at all of the areas of our code of conduct, of code of ethics, and not just a few of them. Just last Saturday, we celebrated the commissioning of Reverend Kristen Alstott. She completed the CMEP program and all of those requirements, and so that was a great celebration. We have a few more coming up at the beginning of the year, where we'll have a few more students that are completing that process, and we have 4 new students coming in who've started this fall in some way, shape, or form. If you have questions or would like to hear more about the Commission Education Program, I'm happy to visit with you, or if someone in your congregation is considering perhaps heading that direction, I would be glad to visit about those programs and all of the opportunities that are part of it.
Thank you, Andrea. Our Upper Midwest Women's Retreat team, the 25 retreat, was held at the end of September. 40 participants. The theme, home and grounding. They also reported, I know that from their Facebook group, But the 24 retreat, which is actually what they had to report on, because the 25 retreat had not happened when they submitted the report, but I want to share that. 34 participants from 14 congregations appreciated the theme, Be Humble and Kind. And of course, that is an annual event held in Minnesota, usually in September or the beginning of October each year. If you were part of that planning team, I don't know, I haven't seen any of those planning teams, but maybe I've missed somebody. Anybody from the Women's Retreat Planning Committee? I know we had a couple who planned and could not make it. But you attend? Yeah, we've got some. Yes, we do have attendees. Yes, so if you attended, raise your hand. We're grateful that you had that experience. Yes. Moving on, elders together. More than 50 participated in 5 small groups in 24, and you can see some of the topics: discussion-focused learning. That's also what we did with boundary training. So if you're in elders together, imagine that with clergy on some themes with ethics. Next, property in the Christian Conference Center. It is my delight to not present this report this year because our new executive director began officially in March, Eric Lahart. Welcome him.
Thank you, Josh. I am grateful and excited to be here to help kind of dream and lead and continue to move things forward at the Christian Conference Center. We've got lots of things that we are in the process of brainstorming and kind of dreaming about. There will be time that we'll need some input from you all on things that we might do on our next projects. The biggest thing, we're going to have a dedication today on the boathouse. That has been a project that picked up steam in the fall, and then we've pushed real hard to get that done for today. We actually had the county out to inspect that facility on Wednesday, so that is, aside from one handrail that needs installed, 100% ready to have occupancy. Big thing we did this year was the property book, where Jerry went through and made sure that we had a detailed record of everything, which direction the drains run, the manholes are all, we have service records. So when somebody shows up to fix something, we have the opportunity to give them what they need and get that stuff done much more efficiently, which in turn will save us some money in the long run when you're paying per hour for some of those services. But really, we're looking at just anything we can do to make the facility better. The thing that I tell everybody when I talk is I want feedback, whether it's good, whether it's bad. Feedback is how we make decisions and how we improve to get better. So when we talk to the staff all the time, it's better today than yesterday and better tomorrow than we are today. And it's just the continued improvement that will sustain us forward. And I think my big piece that I'm pushing for is how we can create a sustainable conference center that can help put money back into the camping program to drive our costs down as low as possible for those programs.
Thank you, Eric. I'm mindful that lunch technically has begun, but you're all still here, and we're almost done here. Personnel committee that supported both our employee searches and transitions and did reviews. They've also done a thorough revision of the employee handbook that provides our guidelines for how we treat our staff. That will likely be approved, I hope, by our board in November or at the February meeting. But they've done good work this year getting that ready. Next, new and revitalizing church committee. That used to be 2 teams. They've combined to share ministry because a lot of the work is similar. Focused a lot on new church ministry and recognizing existing congregations as disciples, who want to affiliate as disciples of Christ congregations. Been working a lot to strengthen that process and clarify exactly what the expectations are in both directions of the new ministry of the congregation seeking to affiliate and from us as a region and our team as we support them. And one of the most exciting things is that in the past year, the primary ministry support has been for The Stable, which is an online learning space. Yes. For engaging scripture in explicitly anti-racist and anti-colonial ways, ministered to by the Reverend Dr. Gia Starr Brown, who is just a force of nature, except this week when she's been laid low by whatever one of her kids brought home. I felt terrible when I talked to her earlier this week. So if you want to go to their website, that is, use that QR code. Next, UMWIC, the Upper Midwest Youth Council. The past year, our leadership featured 6 regional youth, that's juniors or seniors in high school, who apply, supported by 3 adult leaders and regional staff. The group last year participated in the Youth Leadership Symposium, which is open to disciples in the United Church of Christ, out through Chapman and through Helm now, creating hands-on ministry projects in their congregations. And it's an exciting program. I'm glad they all participated in it. They helped plan the 25 Winter Cairo COF retreat. This year's group has helped to plan some of our youth programming for today, and they are on site and helping with that. They're also doing some planning for the 26 midwinter youth retreats. So we're grateful for them. Camp. I could talk about camp, but Andrea's still here, so she's going to talk about the highlights of the 2025 camp year. Is that really all? We just updated safety policies. Uh-oh.
There's more slides. I came prepared. We did update some of our safety policies in 2025. We also updated our cell phone policy, which is also back under revision and review because some of our camps had a little more trouble with that policy than others. So anyway, the camp totals this year, we had 463 campers, which is fantastic, and 94 volunteers. The camp dates for 2026 are posted. We are making a shift in our week. Camp will start on Sunday late afternoon at 4 p.m. and will end on Friday. So if you want to, I'm not going to go into long detail about it, but if you want to have a conversation about that, I'm happy to talk with you about it. But you're not going to change my mind. So just know that. We are working on our curriculum for the 2026 year. I've sent it out to our directors who cover all of our age groups. So I'm waiting to hear back from them on some of their thoughts on the curriculum that we are starting to look at. And so those themes and such will be announced hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We'll know our theme and direction for the 2026 camp year. But we had a lot of great stuff happen this camp season. Campers were well engaged and had a great time. No major injuries, which is always good. Some dehydration, minor things, dehydration and such. But gave them some Gatorade. They were right back out there hitting the Gaga Ball pit. So. I'm always glad to talk about camp. If you have any questions or concerns, or you would like to bump those volunteer numbers up to a solid 100, I got a link for you. So we have camps for all ages, and so if you would like to engage in that, we would love to have you.
Thank you, Andrea. Last celebration, Anti-Racism Pro-Reconciliation team that has led, I'm sorry, I forgot. We've got some camp council members in the room, at least I saw a couple of them earlier, and we're thankful for your service. Yes, thank you. I didn't write that down for any of them, and I should have, obviously, and I wouldn't have forgotten. Anti-Racism Pro-Reconciliation team, we also have some of those members in the room. Online educational events, including a region-wide book study on me and white supremacy. The action part of the team has written public letters responding to racial violence incidents. They've recently worked to create a shared list, which is almost ready for us to share, of events and museums and activities that can help people gain experiences across racial and ethnic boundaries. So we are grateful. If you're part of the ARPR team in our region, would you please raise your hand? We're grateful for you and your service. That's not the whole of our ministry, but that's a lot, and that's everybody who submitted their reports, so that made it easy for me to put bullet points together for us to celebrate today. Just a couple of announcements. Remember, 2 lunch seatings. At the end, after the 2 workshop sessions, we will have a closing worship circle out at the Bell Fire Ring, so gather there around 2:45. The weather should be delightful. There are more announcements in your booklet. I won't bore you with them, but please look at them, including, by the way, the camp schedule, so you didn't have to take a picture of it and then try to read it off of your phone. It's in your booklet for 2026. And go visit our friends who've got display tables in the lobby of the lounge before, during, or after lunch. Thank you all. See you at lunch and after, later this afternoon.